Theology of Business, Episode 35, 5 Biblical Entrepreneurship Principles to Teach Your Kids. Welcome back to the Theology of Business podcast, the show that helps marketplace Christians to partner with God in business to transform the marketplace and make an impact in eternity. I'm your host, Darren Shearer, founder of Highbridge Books, which publishes books written by inspiring thought leaders. I'm the author of 3 books, including The Marketplace Christian and Marketing Like Jesus. If you're interested in publishing a book to help people honor God in their work, head over to highbridgebooks.com/course to sign up for a free 3-video author training course. In this course, you'll learn how to write a great nonfiction book, how to market your book, and how to start a blog to build your platform as a thought leader. And feel free to email me at darren@highbridgebooks.com to get a conversation going about your book. And now, on to today's episode. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the topic of biblical entrepreneurship principles to teach your kids. And we're joined by Ken Carfagno and his 11-year-old son, Kenny. So this is the first father and son interview we've had. I've had the privilege of working with Ken on his book, Arctic Land, which is published through my publishing company, Highbridge Books. And Ken, has it been 2 years? I think we've been working together for at least 2 years on this project.
Yes, it has, Darren. Incredibly enough, it's been 2 amazing years.
It's been an absolute pleasure working with Ken and just and actually got to meet Kenny on some of those Skype calls that we've had over the course of this process. But I can tell you that Ken has a passion for helping his kids to become like Jesus, and he sees business as a perfect context for this discipleship process to happen. And I'll let Ken talk a little bit more about his organization that he started to help fathers to connect with their kids. And he's also going to be speaking to not just fathers today, but mothers and parents in general, and talking about the opportunity that we have as parents. I mean, I have 2 kids. They're both under the age of 2, so we're not quite at that stage yet where we can talk about business. But I'm looking forward to this opportunity to just impart some of these things that Ken has imparted into his kids. He's got 3 boys, right, Ken?
I do, and 1 princess.
And 1 princess. And just being able to soak up some of this inspiration and knowledge to pass on to my kids. So I know that especially those of you who are parents are really going to enjoy this episode and are going to benefit a lot from it today. Ken also owns and operates a cleaning business for the past 10 years up in the Capital District of New York State. It's called Carfagno Cleaning. And Ken is an entrepreneur, just an incredible father, has just really challenged me to just, we talk about work-life balance, but and just balancing out time with business and with family, but Kenny spends a ton of time with his kids and just doing incredible, like wacky, crazy, fun activities with them. You can see some of the videos at dadnamics.com. I mean, where he's, doing cart races through the grocery store to get away from alligators and just all kinds of fun stuff that he's doing. But you're going to really just benefit from this interview today. So Ken and Kenny, welcome to the Theology of Business podcast.
Thank you very much, Darren. We're blessed to be here.
Absolutely. Kenny, have you ever been on the radio before?
No.
Awesome. Well, this is your radio debut, I'm sure, of many more interviews to come. Well, Ken, tell us a bit more about yourself and Dadnamics and why parents should teach business principles to their kids. And then I want Kenny to introduce himself and tell us about what he's learning in business.
Well, thank you, Darren, for bringing me on the show. And thank you for giving me a chance to bring my son on. This has been an amazing last couple of weeks ever since he turned 11. That was back on December 13th. So I'll just say this up front about me. I'm a goofball dad. Actually, I've always been a goofball, and when I became a dad, it gave me actual permission to be a goofball and get away with it. And actually, on some of my social media profiles, I actually put that I'm basically the main character from the movie Big from the 80s, which is where the kid wished to be big, but he he stayed as a kid, even though he was in an adult's body. So that's kind of me in many situations. And I think carrying that kind of joy and that kind of fun into everything benefits you. And this is what sparked the idea, the concept of Dadnamics. And it happened along the path of writing my first book. But I'll try and keep this brief. But basically, I realized that all the silly and goofy and creative and adventurous things that I do with my kids, like you mentioned, the alligator races, I've got about 40 different things that I have now actually recorded on my phone that are going up on YouTube and on my blog. And these are just things that I was already doing to be goofy and to just connect and bond with my kids in a very creative kind of way. And what I saw happening from these experiences and these connections, and this has become sort of a tagline for Dadnamics. The high level tagline is Dadnamics, infusing creativity, adventure, and silliness into dad time. But the underlying tagline, which I'm coming to see more and more, the Lord's opened my eyes to see this, and I'd love to share a quick example if you allow me. But the underlying tagline is great connection leads to great conversation. And that's what I want to share with you and your audience here today. Because, yes, we're going to talk about biblical entrepreneurship and my son learning his first business and starting it and the confidence and the money he's got in his hand and achieving goals, all these awesome things. But starting your own business, that was a conversation of 1,000 conversations that a parent can have with a child. And I totally believe that great connection leads to those conversations. And if you'd allow me to share about a 60-second example, I think it'll really benefit and add a lot of value to your audience. Would that be okay?
Yeah, please do.
On Saturday, my daughter turned 8 years old. And, so this is away from the 3 boys. This is an example of my daughter. And she's just the happiest little girl, and she's just a joy, and she's our princess. So we wanted to have some one-on-one bonding time with her. So my wife's name is Teresa. So Teresa and I took her out ice skating. She loves ice skating. She's only been twice now, and she's just a natural on blades. And we had a great time. So about halfway into the public skating, where there's about 50 to 100 people skating around in a circle, I said, Christiana, come here. And I pulled her into the center of the ice. Of course, everyone's watching, and that's what Dadnamics is all about. It's stretching yourself, overcoming fears, because that's a lot of it. That's a big part of the connection, is doing something that is different and silly. So I pull her out in the middle of the ice, and I start singing a song that we do at home. We dance to a song at home, the Cinderella song, and I start singing it on the middle of the ice, and we start dancing on our ice skates right in the middle of the ice. And it was really bad. It was absolutely without any form. And it didn't look great, but you know what? I think it really impacted people because people were staring at us. Well, people always stare at me. I'm used to that now. But this was different, and my daughter was loving it. And that was part 1. Then after that, we took her to lunch. We had a great bonding time. We went after that to an arcade. This is all for her birthday. She's 1 of 4. We wanted her to have special time for her birthday. We took her to an arcade where we did the skee ball deal and all that stuff, and you get tickets. And one thing that I've learned from, I'm the oldest of 5. I learned this as a younger, adult, to always find keepsakes, to always find things to cement a memory. And when we finished off this arcade thing, we had like 400 points, and we bought some, corny little gifts. But she wanted to make sure that we got gifts that were 2 different colors of the same thing, so that we could keep them forever. And she's seen me do this with my younger sisters. My one sister's 21 years old. She still has this purple alien that she had gotten when she was 8 years old when I took her out for her birthday. So my daughter remembered that. So here's the point of the story. We had some amazing connection time, and she felt loved. We went home. We had a great night. We go into bed to tuck her in. It's just me and my daughter. And I pray over her. I do this thing called, which I now have a title for it. It's called the Daddy Loves You survey that I do with my kids. I wasn't going to get into that too much, but after doing this and after all this time together with her, I just about to tuck her in. As soon as I finish praying, my daughter starts sobbing out of nowhere, uncontrollable sobbing. Now, my son actually hasn't heard this yet, so it's new to him too. So I'm not going to share the details of what came out, but I'll just say this. She basically looked with tears streaming down her face. She said, "Dad, I've been keeping a secret from you and Mommy." And it rocked me. It blew my mind. Like, wow. So my first instinct was to listen, to be patient, to not go crazy here, not to overreact, but just to listen and say, well, what do you mean? I just start talking to her. So this was an amazing conversation that ended up being an hour long, bringing Mom into it. And then after that, I was so empowered by the situation. I wrote a blog about it. And I'm going to be publishing that soon. But the point here is I walk away from that night so impacted, saying, wow, is it possible that if we had not have been the parents that we are, if we had not been connecting with our daughter for all these years, and if we hadn't done, that special time with her today, and if I hadn't done that silly little ice dance, all these things that made her feel special and loved and to remember what we did, would that conversation ever come out? Would that confession ever happen that night? So I preface everything with that's what Dadnamics is about. And now I think you want to probably move over into the area of, my son and his business. So I hope that didn't take up too much time, and I hope it benefits.
Yeah, well, Ken, I wanted to hear, and that's a powerful story. So it's the conversations that you have, and that's really what it's about when it comes to connecting with our kids, is just keeping that conversation going. And so it happens on the ice skating rink. It can happen in maybe not just doing a family outing, but even just taking time at home to bring the conversation into the realm of business, which is where so many of us spend the majority of our waking hours. And so using business as a context for those questions, for those conversations to happen. Kenny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're learning about business?
Well, I'm in 5th grade, and I've started my own business, and it's really fun.
That's awesome. So what are you learning in the process? I mean, because starting a business isn't easy. I mean, what are some of the challenges that you're facing, and what are some of the things that you're learning?
Well, one of the first challenges was going to knock on the people's doors, trying to get customers. It was really hard for the first couple doors, but then I got kind of used to it, and it was pretty easy for the other 16 that we did.
So your dad was like, Kenny, you need to get out there and start knocking on some doors. Like, what was that conversation like?
Well, it was kind of like, wasn't really that hard.
Did I tell you I was going to throw you to the wolves and I was going to drop you off in the neighborhood? Did I tell you, here you go, here's houses, go have fun? Or did we do anything before that?
We planned it all out over a few days. We printed flyers and business cards, and we got ourselves all ready to go.
Was it fun, or did it feel like work? I mean, did it feel hard? Did it feel, did it feel challenging? What did it feel like?
It was more like fun.
What was the funnest part about it?
When I got my first yes.
Awesome. How many no's did you have to get before you got that yes?
About 10.
How did you deal with getting those no's?
Well, earlier, my dad taught me that I have to get no's before I can get a yes, and it made it a lot easier.
Wow. So, man, I bet you guys were just on cloud nine celebrating when you got that yes, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And what type of business is it? What type of services are you providing, Kenny?
Well, I'm actually taking people's trash cans, like the big ones, all the way to the curb and back every week.
Awesome. How did you decide to do that? Because when I was about your age, I was mowing lawns, and I was kind of doing the door-to-door thing it didn't even occur to me to do the trash. I might have been able to make more money doing that. How did you decide on helping out with the trash cans?
Well, I came up with like a whole bunch of ideas, and then I thought like, what do you want to do this? Like, nah, not really. I thought like, and then the trash idea sounded like great. I was like, yeah, let's do that.
So, Ken, from your perspective, what are some of the underlying biblical principles that you've been trying to teach and instill in Kenny during this process?
Well, that's it. That's a great question. I'll start it off by saying that the underlying theme to everything is have fun. Who wants to do any business that is like a job? I used to have a job before I was an entrepreneur, and sitting in an office, it just wasn't that fun for me. And I don't want to teach my kids that doing a business is like, I'd rather them think that doing a business is fun, and then, oh, by the way, there's work involved, versus it's work, and oh, by the way, there's fun involved. I think if you flip the script on that a little bit, it changes the mindset. So that's where my platform of Dynamics comes in. Is along every step of this process, I've been looking for ways to infuse creativity, adventure, and silliness into the teaching and the growing of a business. So I think a couple practical steps that I took, and how I infused my branding into it. The first was, okay, you want to have a business. That's great, son. Why do you want a business? And I've always learned that you'll never do something, because you know how to do it. You have to know why you want to do it, and then you'll go figure out the how. And so what we did was, I knew he wanted to start a business, and on his 11th birthday, I presented him with like this rite of passage journal, and I was very secretive about it. And I brought him in to the room, and I started saying, okay, here's your birthday present. I started inscribing things in his notebook, and I made him not really have a chance to see what I was actually writing. And eventually I finished it, and I gave it to him, and it basically said, congratulations. Now that you're 11, I am starting entrepreneur training with you today. And I went through what I would be doing with him, but I made this a really fun experience, like making it like he's getting some password to some secret door, Right. And that was special, and also special time with Dad. So we went immediately into our first lesson. And the first lesson isn't about business cards or flyers or how to knock on a door. It's about, okay, dude, what do you want? If you had money, what do you want to buy? We went on Amazon. We went on Google. We were looking through his room, and overwhelmingly the kid keeps coming up with the same answer. And this cuts across America in the 10, 11-year-old range. What did you want, Kenny? Legos. But not just any Lego. I have to read it. The Lego Mindstorms EV3. It's like a $350 like electronic robotic Lego deal. Dude, it's not like our Legos when we were kids, Darren. This is like serious Legos. This is like Legos meet science fiction. So it's $350. And he's already been doing chores around the house and making money, and he's been saving up some money too. But he still needed about $100. And when he saw that, wow, I can make $100 in my own business, and wow, I could get that Lego EV3 a lot faster. So we started okay, well, here's some things that you really want, this Lego, and there's a few other things he wrote down on the list. And we started to plan out, well, what is that going to take, and how many customers? And the biblical principle behind this is that I go to Habakkuk 2:2. Then the Lord replied, write down the revelation and make a plan on tablets that our herald may run with it. Basically is when you get a vision, a dream, a goal, you got to write it down and then go after it. Right. And that's the first thing we did. Now, there's a few other steps I went into. I didn't know if you had a question about that particular one or if I should just keep going.
Well, I love that. And it's so powerful and such an important principle for, at 11 years old to learn that, because, a lot of people go their whole life and never learn that you have to, if you want something, you need to make it clear, write it down, and put a plan of action together to go after it and not expect it. I mean, of course, there are times where, you buy things for Kenny, I'm sure, but when it comes to something like this, you wanted him to understand. I mean, Kenny, would you appreciate those Legos, that Lego Mindstorms EV3 if you bought it or if your dad bought it for you? Do you think you would have more have a greater appreciation for it?
I think I would if I bought it with my own money.
Wow. That's powerful right there. And I love the other principle that you were alluding to earlier, and just having fun in business. That I think a lot of people grow up and business is basically just sort of a chore. It's just sort of something that it's like a necessary evil so that we can make money and then do the things that we enjoy. And yet, and I love it. I should mention that to our listeners that Ken has written an incredible article about the things we're talking about today. You can go and check it out at theologyofbusiness.com, and it'll pop right up at the top of the page. And definitely leave a comment there, and Ken will be sure to respond to any questions or comments that you have. But one of the principles there that Ken's been talking about is to have fun in business. And Ecclesiastes 2:24 says, a person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God. So I love what you guys are modeling, that work and doing business, it should be something that's fun, not something that is just miserable.
Definitely.
So what are some of the other things that you're learning in business, Kenny?
Well, I'm learning that before I can start a business, I should probably have goals that'll keep me running. Otherwise, I might just not want to do it anymore. I just want to stop.
Right?
It might not be any fun anymore.
It's fun to go after goals, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's a goal you're working on now?
Right now, my goal is to get that robot.
Yeah. How long do you think it's going to take you to get that?
Well, I think I'm going to get it really soon.
Beautiful. What's something else that you've been learning?
Did we do anything before we started? Can you just show up at someone's house and say, here I am? No?
No, I can't.
What'd you learn about that?
Oh, I also had to plan to do it. I had to print out business cards and flyers. And
you mean you didn't just wander out there and just hope something would happen? You actually put a plan together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Of course.
Yeah, this goes right to the heart of it. I think there's there's 5 points I put together in the article I wrote. But this second point here, I mean, how often do we overlook this? How many of us have that model of shoot and then aim versus aim then shoot? I look at this, okay, Luke 14:28. Suppose one of you builds a tower. Now, probably a lot of your listeners have heard this verse 1,000 times. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? So, I mean, how prosperous would this business be if we're building a tower / building a business and we have no idea the resources it's really going to take? The amount of time, the amount of money, the amount of people. And in this case, we needed to have some promotional materials. He needed to know some basic skills of dealing with people. Eye contact, right. confident look, a smile, a firm handshake. These are things I taught him. Having a good script, how to answer a no, how to deal with a yes. What if a child answers the door? What do you say then? All these different scenarios and role playing, and on top of all that is well, what about the which houses do we go to? So we also had to scope out which ones we wanted to do. So we actually scoped out which houses had the pickup date of the trash can company the day that Kenny wanted to actually do his business. So we chose Wednesday night, Thursday afternoon, would be the night that we'd look for. So we went out on a Wednesday night and found which houses actually had trash cans out the curb. And we wrote down those addresses. We compiled a list of 25 houses on the first pass. And that was our initial list. And that kind of takes us into, okay, now how do we define success? And this is, I think, this is pretty important because this is the fear element, Darren. Like, all right, it's all good, fine, well, and good to say we got these goals, we wrote them down, we're going to get this great Lego robot $350 deal, and we're going to do this to prepare for it. But there's one more piece of preparation that I think people might overlook, is that there's fear involved in this. I mean, as much as you don't want to admit it. I mean, especially for an 11-year-old boy going to someone's house he doesn't know and saying, hello, my name is Kenny Carfagno, and how you say it? And I live nearby, and I just started my first business. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah.
Right. And people were like, wow, that's great. So how do we overcome that fear? So I like this verse from Judges 7:7. The Lord said to Gideon, and this is about defining success. With the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the others go home. So I picked this Bible verse out, and I was sharing this with Kenny earlier, that, you know, there was a list, so to speak, of thousands of men at Gideon's disposal that he could choose from. But God whittled those thousands down to just 300. And with those 300, destroyed the Midianites. So I said, Kenny, there's thousands of houses in our area. Okay? We don't need 300 to destroy the Midianites right now. But we do need about 5, it looks like, to hit your goals. So here's the philosophy, son. Getting a no is a good thing. Getting a yes is what everyone thinks is a success. You get a yes, of course you think you're succeeding. If you get a no, most people quit after a no. So I taught him that in my own business. And I gave him this example. Now, I'd love to tell this example. It's a quick one from my cleaning company. When I first started, Darren, first year in my cleaning company, I was just out of my engineering job. We had no money, and we had to find a way to get some business. I went door to door, literally, with information packs about my company to 300 offices over a span of a few different months. I think it took about 30 days or so to do this. And I got the word no said to me 298 out of the 300 times. It was a very difficult thing to process when you need money to keep food on the table. This is a tough time in our life. Kenny at this time was about a year and a half old. And so we had one yes that was kind of a weak yes where I got a couple, jobs out of it that, paid, a couple $100 maybe. And it was okay. That's great. But there's this one example. On one of the very last days, I went to 19 businesses over the course of the day. And I presented myself, talked to each person, and everyone said no to me. And it wasn't like, no, get out of my office. It was just no, it's not the right time, or come back. But they were no's. And this is very discouraging. And I'm like, okay, I'll just keep going. And you know what? Something inside of me spoke out. I'm like, I need to go to one more. Just try one more. 19 is not an even number. I need to get to 20. And I went to the next one on the list. Okay, I'm just going to go. I prayed a little prayer. Lord, guide me in this. I walked in, met the receptionist. And now it's 10 years later. That one customer, I've earned over $60,000 on my cleaning business because of that one yes. And I taught my son this lesson. I said, Kenny, all you need is one yes. And if I could just share how this went down, I'm sure Kenny would say it. Because the first part, and Kenny's over here jabbing me, by the way. He's like, tell him the funny story, tell him the funny story. And I promise, okay, I'll tell the funny story. He thinks it's funny because we did role playing. I have to say, oh, this is silly. So, okay, I'm like, okay, Kenny, I'm in the kitchen. It's after dinner. Now let's do some examples of what not to do when someone says yes or no to you at the door. And this is very important. Remember this, son. And when I said, okay, so would you give me an opportunity to serve your family in business? And if the family said no, then I said, Kenny, here's what you don't do. You don't go, no, I can't believe you said no. And you start crying, you put your hands in your face. I can't believe, no, why are you rejecting me? Mama. So I was being dramatic and everyone's cracking up. This is an example of being having fun and injecting. And then I said, okay, let's talk about the wrong way to get a yes, because getting a yes is great. So let's say the family says, yes, I would like to hire you. Here's what you don't say, right, Kenny? Yes, I knew you would. you're amazing. I'm going to be the best ever. And you do this big high five with a customer. You give him a hug. So I explained that there's a certain... And the monkey dance, yeah. And we did this in the kitchen. This is part of the role playing, the fun that we had. So the point of this lesson is pretty obvious. Was to have fun. That was number one. But to also teach that yes or no, you want to kind of have a balanced answer. Like, okay, thank you very much for your time. And you let them direct. So I was teaching Kenny how to properly respond. So Kenny forced me to tell you that because he was over here cracking up. All right. The last part of this is, and this is the part.
Well, let's save that for the article, because I want people to go to the website to read Ken's article. So if you want to get the rest of the principles here, definitely go on to the website at theologyofbusiness.com and read Ken's article. You can read more of the details about how he's teaching biblical business and entrepreneurship principles to his son. And you can take those principles and do likewise. Ken, as we're wrapping it down here, tell us about your book, Arctic Land, and where people can buy it. And then just kind of leave us with some parting advice for parents who want to teach biblical business and entrepreneurship principles to their kids.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. All right, well, first, let me answer the second question first. I just wanted to stress this. Why would parents want to teach this to their kids, to have the conversation of business? And my wife and I, Teresa, we just felt that the job market is very uncertain as it is today. What's it going to be like in the year 2026? And I just believe that there's timeless principles that business has always been prosperous through the millennia. But jobs hasn't really been around that long. So we'd rather prepare our kids to have business skills while they're young, so that they would be prepared for the economy of 10 years from now. And that was kind of our behind the scenes, like, this is why we want to do it. And the fact that they took to it so great is just it's awesome. So this is that's the underlying thing. And also I think it's important that doing a business is a great way to show kids that you can set and achieve your own goals. Even as a 9, 10, 11-year-old boy, a girl, my daughter already wants to start when she's 8. So that's the first thing. And then I'll come back to the parting advice. Now, my book, Arctic Land, this has been probably the funnest journey of my life. Arctic Land began with just an idea of me and Kenny when he was 5 years old, making up a bedtime story. That bedtime story, through encouragement, through recording them over night after night, has turned into an actual book, which it's mind-blowing to know that, where God can take an idea. But Arctic Land, the scope of this has gone from from just a book that was kind of like a Narnia, kind of Indiana Jones kind of adventure, to how cool would it be if the father and son did it together? Hey, how cool would it be if the father actually read the son's name into the book as the main character, and that was dynamics in reading. So taking dynamics and taking it into the world of reading. And that was, my initial concept. And then it stretched even further into how can I make this more interactive? And I created 37 different activities throughout the book. And the son actually gets you get free downloadable maps, interactive maps, and this thing called a GAD logbook, which is like this really cool adventure book. You can print it out or you can pull it up on your phone or your device. And you can read, as you read along the book, there's these logos that you would hit in the book. And every time you see a logo, the father and son know that, we have to go do an activity. And they're guided as to where to go and do those. Some of them might be in a house with some art supplies, and some might be, tapping a tree to get water out of it, or how to survive a polar bear attack, or how to survive a volcano, and like all these fun things. So the whole thing's designed to become an experience, and a reading experience. And behind the whole this is a tool. I want fathers engaged to create more connectivity through a great habit, through reading. And if boys and girls too, girls are welcome too. But if girls and boys would read more because dad thinks it's cool because he's doing it with them, and because there's so much interaction involved, books have become cool. And I've watched my son since the age of 5, Kenny, who's been on the interview, he reads a ton. He loves reading. And this is because how much reading we do and how much interaction we do around books. So that right there is what Arcticland is about. The book itself is called Arcticland. It can be found. You can go right to my website at www.dadnamics.com/Arcticland. That's Dadnamics, DADNAMICS. And there's also It also links you over to the Amazon page. So
beautiful. Well, it's an incredible book. I definitely want to encourage everybody to go check it out. Again, Amazon will have the links to it at the bottom of the article. If you go to theologyofbusiness.com, pull up Ken's article, it'll be there. Kenny, would you do us a favor and just kind of talk to the parents out there that are maybe thinking about helping their kids understand biblical principles of business and just how to be an entrepreneur? What would you say to encourage those parents?
Well, it's a lot of fun, and I think a lot of kids would like doing it.
Awesome. It's a lot of fun. I think that's the key right there. The key takeaway from this interview today is that spending time with your kids and learning business. I mean, business is it's fun. It should be fun. And to be able to combine that with the discipleship of your kids and just spending time with your kids and just letting them know that you want to be a part of their life and just helping them to learn maybe some of the things that you didn't get to learn until much later on, and just giving them a head start. I think what Ken and Kenny are doing is just an incredible example to us all. It's definitely an example that I'm seeking to emulate as my kids are getting older. Right now, they're just both under the age of 2, but you're definitely going to be hearing more from Ken and Kenny about how you as a parent can do this with your kids. Ken, anything you wanted to say before we sign off here?
I think it's critical that we as parents not only teach this stuff, but we model it. I mean, we have to do what we're teaching. And I mean, we're talking to an audience mostly, I think, made up of entrepreneurs. So, I mean, if you're doing a business, have fun with your own business. I mean, how can you teach having fun to your son if you can't have fun yourself? So start with you, have fun. And, your son, I think my son has witnessed me having fun with my business for as long as he can remember. So my parting advice is still centered around the same topic. Have fun, but have fun with what you're doing too. And if you're not having fun, I love to reference people to Dan Miller, who has a great concept called the sweet spot. And he talks about that you're going to be in a sweet spot in your life and you'll have fun if your gifts and your talents and match up with your purpose and your calling. And there's also money involved that you can prosper from. And if those 3 things line up and you can have a lot of fun with it, well, you're going to have a lot of fun with it and you're going to have an amazing life. And that's the kind of thing I strive for as a husband, a father, and an entrepreneur. And I just hope to teach that to my own kids.
Well said. Well, Ken and Kenny, thank you so much for taking the time to come on to the Theology of Business podcast and just sharing your expertise and just the fun that you're having in business. Thanks for the example that you're setting, and go forward and do great things.
Thank you very much, Darren. We appreciate it.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'd like to hear your feedback on this episode at theologyofbusiness.com, where you can check out Ken's article and also get more information about marketplace ministry, spiritual gifts in the marketplace, marketing like Jesus, and Christ-centered leadership and entrepreneurship. And if you're interested in publishing a book to help people honor God and their work, head over to highbridgebooks.com/course to sign up for this 3-video author training course that I've created for you. And you can also feel free to email me at darren@highbridgebooks.com to get a conversation going about your book. Thanks for listening, and keep partnering with God in your business.